Leeds Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Welcome to Headingley Stadium for a very special show tonight. As the Challenge Cup final approaches this weekend, we take you down a journey of memory lane. Jonesy, where are we today?
We're at Headingley Carnegie Stadium, the home of the first ever Challenge Cup final, and my home away from home, Simo, place, one of the best places in the whole wide world as far as I'm concerned. And I've brought with me today a Leeds Rhino shirt that came out earlier this year, and basically it has the name of every single player that has represented Leeds over the various years, whether you've played 5 minutes or 500 games, your name is on this shirt. And what we want to do today is unpick some of them names. I don't know every one of them. We've got 3 of the biggest stars in front of us tonight. We're going to unpick who these people are, their personalities, their abilities and what they've brought to this marvellous club.
Well, this is Rugby M's Leeds Greatest, and we're looking at 2 specific clubs tonight, Leeds Rhinos and their opponents for the Challenge Cup final, Castleford Tigers. Got 3 legends from Leeds Rhinos in the place right now. We've got our very own Keith Senior, of 365 games, one for every day of the year.
Yep, thank you very much.
We've got the legend that is Gary Schofield, 253 appearances, 147 tries.
Very much looking forward to this debate.
And the main man, the tough guy, Roy Dickinson, 1972 to 86, 303 appearances, just breaking the 300 mark. Jonesy, where do you want to start? Who do you want to start with tonight?
I don't know, I'm really excited, mate. I've been fortunate to go on some really good journeys with the current Leeds Rhinos team, but the more dinners that I go to, the more trophies that I win, the more I hear these guys speak and I hear some of the stories that they went through on their journeys, and certainly some of the Challenge Cup finals and particularly the wins are the ones where some of the best stories are. And one of my favourites has to be when Roy Dickinson went there to play Widnes in 1977, and he tells a great story about how Widnes were in some posh hotels, but Leeds weren't quite looked after as well as Widnes, and you ended up staying in a bit of an hostel, Roy.
Well, I wouldn't call it so much an hostel, it was Crystal Palace Sports Centre. And Leeds being the spendthrift that they were, they put us all in a big dormitory together. Most important game of my life. And on the grounds that night there was a big feast, as we call them in Leeds, but it was a fair. And Sid Hines was the coach, and he said, just relax lads, do your own thing. You know what's happening tomorrow, cup final, get out for a few pints, and off we went. Anyway, a few hours later, like, worse for wear, we all come back into the dormitory, everybody being on the feast, various rides going up and down and everything, got back laughing and screaming. You get into your bed, there was a toffee apple in it or some candy floss, and you go to the sink to wash your hands and they were full of goldfish that somebody won, and that was just the preparation before the big game. So I don't think this would happen now, like, but it was good fun and good for team spirit.
One of the things I think you'll always remember when you win it, I've never won it unfortunately, I don't think these guys ever did with Leeds, but just thinking back to that final, you probably remember all them stories because it ended in success. Did that final galvanise the relationships of all those players that you come through, that you're going to talk a little bit about later on?
Not particularly that much, because we had such a good team spirit to start with. It was just like a big family. Everybody were mates, everybody's girlfriends were mates, just one big happy family. So whatever we did together, and that come out on the field. People would have actually killed for each other. You know, it was that type of players that we was.
Absolutely. I think, judging by your hair tonight, I think you used that toffee apple to do your hair up, maybe, Spike.
I've just arrived here on my motorbike, actually, if you don't mind. So.
Yeah. You certainly got a tash for a motorbike. You always been a fashion-conscious guy, Roy?
Yeah, thanks for noticing.
It's part of your legendary look, though, back in the day, and you had some great battles on the field. Who was your toughest opponent in a Challenge Cup game?
It was all tough because everybody wanted to get to Wembley and everybody wanted to win the cup, you know, and get that little bit of winning pay that there was in them days. So it was all tough. I mean, you only get one chance to play at Wembley. Well, you get a few chances, but some players only get there once. Some players never get there. So you've got to bite your hand and go for it. And if you kill a few on the way, that's it.
It wasn't quite as professional then as it is now. Obviously, the game's progressed. Just gives an idea in a sort of week leading up to Wembley, or a normal week at Leeds, Lloyd as it had been called back then. What training would it look like?
Well, it was just the same as any normal week because you didn't really have any more time to train because everybody was too busy at work, you know. Yeah. and the training was just still an hour on a Tuesday and an hour on a Thursday, and then, you know, a couple of pies and half a dozen pints and back to work next day. That was it. There was no time for anything else. When that's how it was. You couldn't do much about it.
I think your area of school would be just after that. What do you recognise about what Roy's saying there? Did it become more professional as you come into the game?
Well, it was, but I came into the game in '83, and to be honest with you, that sort of philosophy, it was in there. You know, it was training on a Tuesday, Thursday, and I was at another club then when I first started out my career. But yeah, it was exactly the same. Training Tuesday, Thursday, 8 pints, fish and chips after, training on Saturday morning there. So the professionalism, as we've seen today, wasn't in there. And as we know, the professionalism came in the roundabout when Wigan, you know, joined, you know, started about '89. But no, it wasn't, and I can relate to the attitude and the philosophy of what the game was when I first came into the game in '83.
Keith, what does it mean for you? You came from Sheffield, where you won the cup, the biggest upset ever. But what does it mean to you to play for a club like Leeds Rhinos?
Well, as everybody knows, it's a massive club, and you look at, as Josie says, you know, the history that's behind it, you know, and it's a bit embarrassing for me because some of these players that are going to be mentioned, I didn't know them, I've never watched them play, but you know, there's the Lewis Jones suite, you know, and you know, Sid Hines, and you know, there's so many quality players and internationals that have played at the club that it's an honour to be part of that history.
Roy, growing up, you told us a story about jumping over the wall. Leeds has always been in your blood. You're a Leeds lad. Point of today's chat is I've asked all three of you to come up with your best ever Leeds team. This is the league's greatest, and what we're going to try and determine tonight is between the three of you, the greatest ever Leeds team. And this is where you lot come in at home, because all you guys have been voting all week, and the person that gets closest to the team that these three have picked, you'll be joining us at the Challenge Cup final this weekend, live at Wembley. Boys, there's some great players on the list. Jonesy, the list is unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I can't disagree with a lot of it. Obviously, a lot of the players I've never seen play. Some of them, well, I've heard of all of them. But it's really interesting. I think what I want to hear from these guys is the characters behind those players.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen them on YouTube, we can watch all games, but actually when it comes to playing in finals and winning finals, it's all about what's inside. And that's what I really want to hear from Scully and Big Roy there and Keith Senior, and as to why they've picked these people. And in particular with Gary Schofield, I'll ask you a question now. I've always been interested, half-back partnerships. We've got Alan Hardesty on later on, and whenever you mention him, Keith Epworth comes up in the same conversation, and it's almost like they're a dynamic duo. You know, how important was an half-back partnership back then as opposed to now? And who was the best player that you ever played with international or at Leeds?
Well, the best player, well, quite simply, the halfbacks are the machine and the creativity of what happens in the rugby league field. I know forwards at times may not agree with that, but at the end of the day, your halfbacks are the most important players on that field. Your forwards do the donkey work, quite simply, that's what they do, that's what they're there for. and then your pretty boys and your centres and your wingers, you know, they finish the tries off by the creativity of your 6 and 7. Today's game, I know it's changing a little bit because you have to play in the channel 6 and 7, but at the end of the day, it's your 6 and 7 who'll get you around the park, you know, and tell realistically everybody where defensively, you know, they're a little bit weak, and you get the big guys, as we say, look, the way that Keith was, the way he played, get on the outside and score the tries. But the way I've based my team, and the best Leeds team that's ever been, has been quite simply 4 formulas: pace, creativity, toughness and mobility. And when I do give you my team, you'll quite simply, you know, see the reasons why I picked these players.
I'm going to say, what category do you fall into then?
I would certainly come into pace and creativity. I would say toughness would be way out of it, I'm afraid.
Do you think the game's sanitised now? It is what it is now, obviously.
Yeah, it is, Jamie, it is, unfortunately. The way the game's gone, but that's the way it is. It's not just one team's doing it. Yeah. Everybody's doing it. So you've got to realistically, if you want to, you know, you buy into the modern game and the way that they play, you know, with the way the structures, the way it's left side, right side channels. That's the way the game is, and that's the way that it is. So you either buy into it or you don't. But I would still, me as a halfback, I would like to see a little bit more creativity. Like to see the ball moved around a little bit, certainly on 22. When you've got big guys like Keith Senior who wants the ball and, you know, thinking, well, I've not done enough for 20, 30 minutes, let him have a go, you know, from their own 22, 30 yards. Because what that will do then, they will go down the field 30, 40 yards, take the pressure off you forwards, and then you can start getting involved at the halfway line rather than getting battered in your own 22.
That's why I didn't do nothing for 20, 30 minutes. I couldn't get the ball off people like you.
That's it. What I remember, Keith, is that you weren't interested until we got past halfway.
Correct, it's all about scoring the tries, or like I used to do, put the wingers in for the tries.
Do you mind doing the donkey work, Roy? Is that what a forward's for?
It doesn't matter. I didn't bother doing anything because we used to say, we'll do the hard work, you score the tries, get us the winning beer money. That was it.
That's it.
So it didn't matter who
Was it
scored.
all about the money for you guys?
It was all about the beer.
All about the money.
The money wasn't in it. There wasn't enough. No.
Let's look at some of the players the boys have picked.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Roy, your team, you want to talk us through some of the players in your team, mate?
Yeah, John Holmes fullback, great stand-up as well. John Holmes, he could read a game from fullback, tell you where to go, come in, come out, you know, see the gap. Alan Smith, great tough winger, great tackler. Sid Hines, fantastic centre and captain, hard as nails. Les Dill, big strong centre. John Atkinson, a legend himself, John Atkinson. All scored a winning try in a big game, got it out. Gary, what can I say about Gary Scofield that Gary Scofield already said?
We've still got another hour to go on that from Gary.
Kevin Dick,
Up so
young scrum half. Kevin could read a game, great goal kicker. In fact, he's big Kevin Dick now, I think he weighs more than me actually. But, Mick Harrison, the best number 8 open side prop forward I've ever seen, strong as an ox. David Ward, another captain, cut him in half, Leeds through and through. Great enthusiasm. Steve Pitchford, the bionic barrel, nobody could handle him. He got the man of the match at Wembley, the Lance Todd Trophy, and then he got picked for the tour the week after, so that's how good Steve was. Big Bill Ramsey, who I watched as a kid, one of my heroes, he was the enforcer. Bob Haig, at the time, leading forward try scorer, great player, another international. And of course, Ray Batten at loose forward, one of the classiest loose forwards I've ever seen. Couple of subs, we've got Graham Eccles, who pound for pound, the toughest man I've ever met in my life. Never take a backward step. And then of course, I've got to put Ellery Allen, who were a class player of the modern era.
Because you've seen obviously Leeds, you signed for Leeds in '72, and you've seen players before that and since then, and you haven't included any modern day players. Why is that?
The team I've picked is because I've picked the guys that I watched as a kid and the guys that I played with. If I picked anybody else that I haven't played with, anything like that, it's somebody else's opinion, especially the guys before. And the guys that's playing now, it's a totally different game. Whether they'd fit into our game or whether we fit into their game, who knows? It's totally different.
Do you think any players nowadays would fit into your game, would make your team?
No. I'm only kidding. It's a totally different game. Of course they would. You know, they maybe all fit in really. It's just a totally different era.
I want to ask you a really dumb question here, right? And it's probably a bit of wording that died out as I come through. You talked about open side and blind side prop.
Yeah.
You said that as if you're really specific about an open side prop, what his job is and what he has to do. Just tell us what the difference was, if there was one.
Well, every scrum you had to literally fight for the ball.
Right.
And this guy, Mick Harrison, he was the enforcer.
Right.
And he would literally grab the other bloke like that and stick his head into his neck. Somebody else would be doing something else. And somebody else would be kicking somebody else. And that was every scrum. And Mick Harrison, you had to do that to get the ball. If you didn't get the ball, these guys couldn't score and get us the pay money. So that's what it was all about.
Sounds like fun, that, doesn't it?
Sounds like fun.
Was it a tougher game then than it is now?
It was a much harder game,
Yeah.
physically wise, but not as athletic.
But also as well, I guess we're asking that question here, but when you look at the way the forward packs are today and the way the forward packs were in my day, and certainly in Roy's, you know, they were playing for the full 80 minutes. There was no 12 interchanges. There was no coming off after 12, 15-minute spells, coming off for 20 minutes, coming back on. They stayed on the field. The only way they came off was if they were playing rubbish or if they broke the legs or broke the shoulders. They had to stay on for the full 80 minutes. So that, again, is a huge difference in the modern game to what it was back in our day. You know, if you never wanted to come off the field. And as I say, the only reason why you came off was if you were playing rubbish or you were injured.
Right, Gary, let's have a look at your team, mate. And you've got a few similar names to Roy.
Yeah, very much so. Certainly the back line, as is mentioned, you know, with John Holmes, You know, a great read of a game, coming to the back line and score your tries. The two wingers, Smithy and Atke, you know, their record will never ever be broken. If you wanted to try scoring from any sort of distance, they would score it for you. Again, the creativity from the two centres in Lewis. Well, Lewis is the all-time legend of this club, and quite simply, if you ask any Leeds fans who the best player that's ever played for this club, it's Lewis Jones. And
not Gary Schofield.
That's debatable. But what else, you know, Lifestyle again, sheer quality, creative-wise for his winger, but also two score tries. Creativity-wise, myself and Jeff Stevenson. And you've got to pick Jeff Stevenson in because the greatest player who's ever played the British game, allegedly, has made the statement, and it's come from Alex Murphy, that Jeff Stevenson was the best player he's ever played against, and he played for our great club. So Jeff Stevenson has got to be in at scrum half, partnering me at number 6. It would have been quite interesting, wouldn't it? And then the front rowers, again, you look at toughness and you look at mobility. And when I look at my pack of forwards here, it's mentioned Mick Harrison, David Ward. You talk about going into scrums and also to getting the ball in the scrum against the head and whatever. There's no better than Wardy. Crooksy, where you talk about a bit of toughness but also to creativity, he could do it all. He could do it tough, he could create, and also too, he could score tries and kick goals if you require. Ray Batten, ball in hand, creativity. That's why he's in the second row with Graham Eccles, because Graham would have done the tough work there for Ray Batten, and then the Pearl himself, Ellery, who quite simply will score your tries. He'll tackle all day for you, do the hard work for you, and also to score your tries. So quite simply for mine, I think that's a perfect 13. And then on the bench, Arthur Clues. Well, everybody knows Arthur Clues, don't they? You know, toughness personified, score your tries running wide, and then himself, Mr. Utility, Mr. Perpetual Motion, and Kevin Sinfield. Kevin can fill any position on the field, and plus as well with his leadership and his goal kicking. There you go, there's your perfect 15. If that was playing in the Challenge Cup this weekend, it's bye-bye Castleford.
Keith, you've gone different, obviously. You played the game in a different era. You signed at 99, played to 2011. It's actually only between 72 and 2011. I think there's only 4 years between you guys at the club, so we couldn't have had a better representation for the Leeds Lioners, Leeds Rhinos tonight.
Yeah, I've gone a little bit where as Roy's gone. Obviously, he chose people that he grew up with and who he played with. Well, I wasn't a massive rugby league fan when I was a kid, so I didn't really watch the game. So I've gone by who I played with at Leeds and what they did, you know, and helped me through the game, and you know what inspired me, and you know some of the brilliance that they did on the game day. You know, so obviously at fullback with Brent Webb, played against him international-wise, and I think he epitomised the fullback role and changed it a little bit in the fact that he turned it into a little bit of an halfback role. You know, like Sam Tompkins moved to fullback. You know, he started off as a halfback, and it turned into more of a ball-playing position rather than just a fielding the kick return defensive position. Marcus Bai, obviously as a wing, you know, the great Papua New Guinea, and I loved him on my wing, just solid. You know, never took a backward step. Only ever saw him get smashed once, and that was by Sonny Bill in the World Club Challenge. You know, so some happy memories from him. But he was just an awesome player. You know, he got the ball on the 10-metre line coming out of yardage. You know, he'd make some good 20-30 metres. Kevin Ira in the centre. It was in between him and Richie Blackmore. They're both very similar type of players, and probably, you know, the biggest thing that let them down was the fact that sometimes they couldn't be bothered, but on the day they could do the damage, you know, and they were devastating. But I went for Iro because I played against him a lot more, and saw, you know, in the international, and you know when he played at Hunter Mariners, and you know in the Australian side. So I had to pick myself. I'm a bit like Gary. I knew that I won't get in his team, so I had to make sure that I got my name in one team. Ryan Orr on the other wing. You know, he speaks for himself what he's accomplished, and senior 6. You know, it speaks for himself what he's achieved in the game. You know, he's the most successful captain to you know, for silverware at Leeds. You know, in my era. Robbie Burrow at halfback. You know, he created so much for me personally. And you know, he's still doing it now. Obviously, he's in the 9 role now, but you know, he can revert to 7, and he's just a devastating player. Big Adrian Morley at prop, and Jamie Peacock. You know, they're the go forwards guys. Danny Medeiros, you know, in between him and Terry Newton for the starting, but I thought I'd go for Terry Newton if I needed a little bit of tough, stealing it up in the middle. Tez Newton, he could do that. But you know, for Bedsy, for his skill and you know what he achieved in the Australia game, and then came over here, it was a great influence on a lot of our young kids in that era. I could have thought Matt Diskin because he was great, and I knew that I could get the ball off him. The only thing that let Bedsy down was when Bedsy and Peacock played together, there was no chance of me ever getting the ball, so he could have got pushed out for that. Second row, Ellis and Ali. Ali for me was probably the best second row that I've played with for his, you know, his offloading ability, his service that he could give me, and you know some of the magic that he brought out. Ellis again speaks for himself, and Annalie's the only one that I've never played with in the team, but you know I was very fortunate that I got the chance to play against him, and you know it speaks for itself. A few people will be surprised by the sub of Daz Freire. It was in between him and Barry McDermott, but I think Daz, he did the little things, he did the hard work, and he did a lot of things that people never saw in the stands, but us as players, if there was some mess to clean up and some hard work to be done, and he'd always do all that work behind the scenes.
Right, during this break, you're going to have to confer and you're going to have to decide between you who is the actual greatest Leeds team. Big thanks to Keith, Garrett and Roy for all your teams. And at the end of the show, you've got to confer now, because at the end of the show, Keith, you're going to be presenting your combined Leeds League's greatest team. Who have we got after the break, Jonesy?
We've got Rugby League character Mick Morgan.
He's joined by cast legends Alan Hardister and Bob Maybar. Tune in after the break for more Rugby AM's League's Greatest.
League's Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Years ago, the Twix founders had a falling out, so production was divided between two factories which each took a very different approach. Left Twix lavished caramel on biscuit, while Right Twix topped biscuit with caramel. Left Twix then covered it in chocolate, while Right Twix smothered it in chocolate. Today, they only share a wrapper and a driveway. Twix, try both and pick a side.
Tim, show Joel how everything you touch turns into Skittles.
That's awesome.
Excuse me.
Touch the rainbow. Taste the rainbow. That's awesome. Turn Skittles into millions of Xbox prizes. Win in every pack.
Wish your hair felt moisturised with volume and bounce.
Why you gotta be like that?
Some women feel moisturising products weigh hair down.
Did I catch you playing up like that? Oh, you like that?
New Dove Oxygen and Moisture with Oxyfusion technology for fine, flat hair. Oxygen-fused conditioning gives hair a moisturised feel, so you can enjoy 95% more volume. New Dove Oxygen and Moisture by Dove Advanced Hair Series.
Imagine your favourite Rolo chocolate as a dessert. Thick chocolate outer and soft toffee below. Would you share it? Rolo chocolate dessert, your delicious favourite from the fridge.
It's Munch Bunch time. Munch Bunch helps kids grow big and strong because it contains real fruit, essential proteins and calcium. Munch Bunch now with all natural ingredients from Nestle.
League's Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Welcome back to Rugby AM's League's Greatest. We were joined before the break by the Leeds legends, and now we're joined, it's Castleford's turn. Three personalities and legends from the club. Mick Morgan has been at the club since 1986, Alan Hardister from 1958 to 71, and Bob Beardmore, 1978 to 1989. 293 appearances, 99 tries. So close, Bob.
Well, that's correct, Alex, but it's not quite correct because I actually scored 100 tries, although it's not on the records. Back in 85, we were actually playing up at Workington, and late on in the game, I'd put a chip through, I'd run through, and it was quite wet, so I actually slid me on the opposing player and touched down. Obviously, I thought I'd scored. Tony Marchant then came up 5 yards behind us and just actually put his hand on the ball. The next day in the papers, they credited the try to him. So I knew I'd scored. I've scored 100 tries, but in the record books, it's 99.
While we're talking about stats, Bob, you've scored most points in a game and also the most points in a season as well.
That's correct, yeah. I scored. I broke the record in '84 playing against Leeds. I scored 34 points, 3 tries and 11 goals. And then 3 years later, in '87 against Barrow, I actually scored 4 tries and 11 goals.
If you'd have said it with Leeds, I would have brought it up.
I know.
So, Mick, absolute legend, sensation, internet sensation.
I can't speak.
How excited are you? You must be the most excited man in Cass for this weekend's Challenge Cup final.
Oh, I'm made up. It's just unbelievable. Obviously, I was assistant coach in '92 when last time I went to Wembley under Van der Velde. So, and to go back again all this time later, it's been a long time between drinks. And it's great, and we've seen it happening. We've seen the performance of the players during the season, and the coaching and Daryl Powell has been absolutely brilliant. Managing the players, and just to come out on top on Sunday, what a dream come true. And I think we were expected to win. I think on Sunday, no disrespect to witness, I think the pressure were on that we were expected to win, and we come up with goods, which were great. But I think this, and they want to go and win at Wembley, but the pressure's off. I think it's all on Leeds. So Castle go down and enjoy it, and whatever happens, happens.
Alan, you can take us right back to 1958. I was watching one of the games last night. I love seeing the old school ones. When you lifted that Challenge Cup trophy, when you won it right back then, Mick talks about what it means to the town. What did it mean back then to bring that back to Castleford?
Well, it's a dream for us all, isn't it? I first saw a cup final on a television in a pub in Castleford. My dad took me down to the local pub, because there were only the pubs had televisions in them days, weren't there? And he sat me in front of the telly watching Featherstone and Workington it was, with my bottle of pop and my packet of crisps. And from that day, something like that sticks in. I thought, that's what I want to do, you know. So you go into the junior ranks, you see you're making your progress, then you go through your school days, and you start winning little trophies there. And all of a sudden, this Wembley dream comes a little bit nearer all the time. And by the time next thing we're signing professional, that's another step towards Wembley Cup final as far as I was concerned. And then we start getting a team together, and a good team together, and of course then the day comes when you play the semi-finals, and everybody really wants to win that one, I think, as much as the final sometimes. But to do it on the day, and then the next thing, you're up there with the cup in your hands and you're showing it to your fans, it's an amazing feeling, and I've done that twice, so that's been very nice.
I spoke to Rob Burrow today, and I told him I was going to have the pleasure of meeting you tonight. Right. And Alan Hardesty, Keith Epworth, they're almost like the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, that closely knit, and almost legendary in terms of what you did for each other. Right. I wanted to ask you, how important was an half-back partnership back then as opposed to today, probably more singular, the half-backs, and who was the best half-back partnership that you played against?
Well, I certainly think the half-backs are still a big part of the game. I just get a bit surprised now. I think we've got a problem with the international side by we've always keep moving loose forwards to stand off half, don't we? And I just can't see how we're going to beat the Australians doing that. Because your half-backs to me, they make your three-quarter line, and everything comes from there. So if you've got a man that's been playing loose forward, and I might be talking about Simfield, but we've had players before him, and we need a stand-off half that plays stand-off half, who knows how to organise his three-quarter line and set them playing, because they're just not getting in the game enough.
There's a real synergy between you and Keith. Even when you came to play for Leeds, he followed you. You know, how close were you two guys, and how much did you add to your game?
Well, I met Keith. I met him from 10 years old. We were at the same school together, and we set off there as a partnership, and we just, well, somebody told me you were a good tattler, so I said, right, I'll play with him then. You know? And it's worked very nice. He loved to tattle, I loved to score. He didn't like to score, I didn't like to tackle. So it's worked brilliant for us both. And I'd go to war with the lad because he was that sort of a player. And he'd be a big asset to any team whichever he played for. And I was just lucky enough to be the man that played at side of him all my life, basically.
Bob, I was asking you as a kicker, when you watch the old games, what's fascinating is everybody's almost square on, and it's not necessarily a toe poke, but it's very square and a big straight kick, and they all go dead straight. Now, when you watch people like Mark Sneed kick a goal today, you know, what did you first think when you seen him with his back to the post?
Well, I'm pretty much like everybody else. I wondered what he was doing at first, you know what I mean? And fair play to the guy, because he's fairly consistent, you know, and if he's happy in doing it and that's his style, then, you know, long may it continue, because, as I say, his percentage rate is obviously better. But no, I was, when I kicked, you know, just a little bit of a round the corner, you know, and over the years things changed. I think, like, a lot of it when Johnny Wilkinson, you know, his style, and I know players started copying that, like Lee Crooks and people like that, you know. But yeah, it does look awkward. But if he's comfortable with it, then like I say, get on with it.
You was one of the first people to bring kicking cones into the game as well.
Yeah, it was late on in my career when we brought in the tees, but we had a guy called Dave Allred. We once in the Great Britain squad in '85, and Maurice Bamford had brought this Dave Allred, I think his name is. He'd done a bit of American football and used to bring him on for kicking. And I'll tell you something, there were me, Joe Lydon, Andy Gregory and a few others, and we were up at Carnegie College, and he had us kicking over the sticks and landing in a big box. You know, that was the goal kicking. We did grubbers, we did bombs, you know, every bit of kicking, and to fair play to the guy, you know, he knew what he was doing, and obviously it made us better players.
The reason we're all here today, it's Rugby M's League's Greatest, and we've asked you guys to get your individual greatest cast teams, and between you all, we're going to find out the greatest team of all. Now, I just want to look at the board. We've got all your teams down, and Jones, whose team should we start with?
I think we should start with Alan's personally. It took us right back there. I always love to hear about the old days and certainly some of the characters within. Like I said before, and I'd love to hear what Alan has to say about these guys that he's picked.
Well, Derek Edwards, very underrated. Started up as half-back, but there were so many half-backs in our Cattleford days that we couldn't all play at half-back, so they converted Derek into a full-back, and he had lots of pace, he had a sidestep, and a terrific defender, so what more could you want from a full-back than that? Keith Howe, Cattleford never really, we didn't have sort of international wingmen. Yeah. We had good wingmen, we had a lot of good wingmen, but never internationals like, you know, the Smith and Atkinson type. But Keith Howe came from Rugby Union and a bit of a speedster and a terrific pair of hands because a lot of balls that I threw, when I went down the middle of the field, he had the nous to come with it. He used to go at the same time, and if I threw it to get round the full-back, I used to throw him to the right wing, and he would catch him. No matter where I threw him, he would catch him and put him over the try line, and brought the Cattleford try-scoring record that week. And that's why I've gone for him. I picked myself, but it was a big choice because I had the opposition or the competition from our club in Roger Millward, who to me was a terrific and a legend in himself. And I'm delighted to be compared with him many times. He was the best player of the two. And I'm not bothered which way, I'd be second to him and I wouldn't mind that. Keith Epworth, obviously, he had to be in my team because he'd have been ringing me up and complaining. Dennis Hartley, I've gone for a bit of the older end in the older game. I'm not sure that he'd been any good today or wouldn't have been as good today.
Why is that?
Well, Dennis Hartley was a big fella, and I think this 10-yard defensive system, up and back, I think he might have struggled to do that. And I think my other prop in Kevin Ward might have been the same. They were very good and strong in the olden days when it was a bit slower and a 5-yard rule in defence. But now they're going so far back in defence, you've got to be a fit guy to do it, haven't you? But there again, they'd be playing full-time, wouldn't they? They'd be training extra and they'd be fitter, so they'd be better players than what they were then. Kevin, well, he'd get everything for a hooker. He used to get the ball, which we did in them days, there was a bit of hooking involved. And he was such a terrific player in the loose. So he comes in at hooker. I had doubts, and maybe I had other people in a guy called Johnny Ward, who was a terrific hooker. Not as good at hooking as Kevin, but his handling skills and his ball skills were terrific. And he'd be an hard man to leave out of that side for me. And then we're going to Bill Bryant, big 6 foot, 3 or 4. Once he got on the run, he was out to stop. He had the knack of picking the ball up and throwing it over the top of the players. And I used to just run by and take it off him and put the ball over the try line many times.
Bob, let's have a look at your team. Run us through it.
Yeah, I've got, when I first broke into the team, the full-back at that time was Jeff Wraith. And Jeff was a good, solid, he could take bombs all day long. He took the ball out well and defensively, you know. So, yeah, Jeff would always get in my team. Next is the two, same as Alan, Singe and Ellis on the left, good, you know, good friend. Singe for years, we played football after both our careers had finished. We played football for 15 years, you know, even when Sinji was coaching at Doncaster. And obviously, as Chuck said, he broke the record for tries. Richie Blackmore inside him, great pairing. Now everybody says, well, Richie Blackmore, but as a winger, you've got to be there to finish him. And that's exactly what Sinji did. So I've gone for Sinji and Richie on one side. Once again, JJ, 600 odd games. I've gone for him, although later on in his career he played standoff and loose forward. But obviously I've got to accommodate other players. So John, I don't think he'll mind me picking him as a centre. And once again, I've gone for Justin Carney. He's only been here a season, but what a season he's had. And I believe he's signed a 4-year contract, so for the next 4 years. 2 seasons, is it, Mick? He told me 4 the other day, but anyway, he's...
No, he's been here 2 seasons.
Right, as long as he carries on doing what he's doing, then, you know, as I say, he's more than worthy of a place in the team. I've gone for steady. If you look at my team, I've gone for players that played in my time and slightly just after rather than before. Obviously, there's players who played before, like Chuck and like Eppie, Johnny Ward, Brian Lockwood, Roger Millward. You know, you can go on forever, and we've all got us, you know, as favourites or whatever. But I've left a lot of players out there that would easily fit into you know, one of my teams. I've gone for myself at scrum half purely because I've played with most of these guys, and I'll just explain in a minute. I've gone with Kevin Ward at prop, and obviously I've gone for gripper Kevin, my brother Kevin at hooker. In the early days, like Chuck said, you used to have to feed the ball. You know, depending on if you kick the ball into their, you know, into their half, then you got head and feed. Many a times when we didn't have the feed, Kevin still won the ball. Right. You know, so it was a great at hooking the ball, but his general play, his support play, it was the first of the modern day hookers. Right. You know, people like, at the time, Benny Elias in Australia, similar type of player who was a great hooker. And then to follow suit, we had like Kieran Cunningham and James Roby and Jimmy Lowes. You know, they sort of followed in that mould of that type of hooker. And I think, you know, most of them are now. The pacey, you know, look at Darryl Clark. Yep. Exactly the same, you know, and he's a great one for the future. So obviously I've gone for gripper at hooker. I've gone for a player at number 10, and this guy is always there or thereabouts, and he's a bit of an unsung hero. I played with Barry right through my career, and I played against him, Barry Johnson. He went to Half Acres, I went to Redhill, and coming up through the juniors, then the seniors, and we always played against each other, and we were both fortunate to both sign on in 78 at the same time. We signed on the same day, and throughout his career, Barry, he was the best ball handling forward I've ever seen, and to say that when you've got players like Lee Crooks, Johnny Ward, Malcolm Reilly, you know, Barry was very gifted, and probably out of the 99 tries which I scored, probably Barry put me through for 75% of those. Going to the back row, once again, I could pick from many. I've gone for Bob Lindner, the Australian who obviously played tests for Australia. He had 2 seasons with us. The first season, he had a real good season. But the second season, he actually broke his... I think he did it here at Edinley, and he clashed heads.
Story tripped him up.
I think he clashed heads with John Fafita, and I think he broke his cheekbone. So his second season weren't as good, and then when he came back again with the Aussies, you know, he was like awesome. You know, he'd filled out, and I think he'd moved up to front row then. But Bob was a very clever player, and he's got very pacey for a forward. So once again, I'd have him in. Partnering him in the second row, Tirana Nikau, fantastic player, great athlete, you know, full of energy, never stopped working, and I think, is it Alan? Yeah, Alan's picked him as well. And then loose forward, which when I played with Malcolm, when I watched him as a kid, obviously loose forward, absolutely fantastic, 69 and 70. There's no wonder he went to Australia and took them by storm. And it was a privilege to watch him as a 9-year-old, and at 18 he actually signed me on. And for about 4 years, he actually carried on playing. He was a prop then. Obviously, he'd filled out and he slowed down a bit, got bad knees. But just his presence, being on the field, what a difference, you know, what a help to you. You know, if you think of what Malcolm aside of me, then you weren't scared of anybody. But as a loose forward, Malcolm, any day of the week.
Mick, last but not least, you've been involved with the club since '86. You've seen them all. You're a cast man through and through. But yours might be a bit surprising for some people.
Yeah, well, I'll give you mine. I'll tell you why I picked them, whatever. But yeah, obviously, and I played again a lot of them and back to Chuck's days, Neppy's days. But I've gone for Stedman at fullback to start with. I remember when we signed Graham Stedman because Van der Vel wanted a stand-off half, and I know Graham at Featherstone, and we actually signed him from Featherstone. And to be fair, Van der Vel wanted a more of a ball-playing number 6, steady one, more cavalier, and beating men one-on-one and that type of thing. So I moved into fullback very successfully. I played for Great Britain and in many Test matches. So. And again, Australia, famous one in Melbourne when he was absolute outstanding. So steady to me, coming at fullback, even though we signed him as a stand-off originally, but he'd be my fullback. St John Ellis, I remember we signed him from York, character. Everybody knows Singe, everybody. He was just an absolute character on and off the field. But I tell you what, kid could run and he could score tries. So he holds the record at Cast for most tries in a season. So kid. Were brilliant. Early sad end to his life. So, but what a great player, and he'd definitely be in my team. I'd have beach ball at other wing. What all been said about him, I love him. I just think he's absolutely. As soon as he touches ball, crowd lift, and the expectations there that the crowd lift as soon as he gets on that ball. He's got ball. So much going to happen. I remember it early on in the season. Good Friday at Wakefield, and he's going down wing and he's at full pelt, and there's only poor Samet there at full back to stop him. And I remember doing commentary and I says, this kid had to press, and the more chance of a Pontios winning Derby stopping him, and he knocked him out of the way. And end result, what a try. And I did feel a bit sorry for poor Samet, but there you go. I will start off with Andy Lynch, and I'm going to go with Donald Clark and Craig Hewby, my front three. Obviously, the present day players. And I've gone for Andy Lynch to start with because, again, another one who started his career at Cass, and he had a spell at Hull and Bradford, but he's come back and he's playing out in his skin. He's playing as good as any prop in league. And they've transformed the team completely, or Daryl Powell's transformed the team completely from also-rans to contenders. Now, if all these other players, and never ever, I know we're going to Wembley this time, for all the medals and what they've done, they've never finished top at league or won championship, which these have got a chance to do this time. I know we're not about Wembley and whatever, but these lads have got to do. So they've got to be up there in my all-time team, and that's when I was thinking about it. That's why I put there. Lynch is in at 8. Daryl Clark, well, I just have to put him in because I think I remember saying when I was 17 in Cass programme, this kid has got Alex Murphy and a Roger Millward. He's got that X factor. Yeah. He just does things. He's quick, he's elusive, he's strong, he's one of the fastest you'd ever see. And now it's a bit picking an all time because going back in day, your job was to get ball out at pack. So really, are you looking at that, or are you looking at what he does today and what he does it like? I remember Steve-O back in the day, he was brilliant at loose, absolutely, a bit like what Clarkey does now. Steve-O would have killed it in today's game. I mean, he killed it back then, but he couldn't get ball. If they took a set of snooker balls in scrum, he wouldn't have got one out. Dick Lowe got what he did yet, but the game's changed, so they're not contested scrums. They're not contested scrums, so that's not needed. So Clarkey to me, he frightens them to death. As soon as he picks that ball up, if he gets a good play of the ball, he frightens them to death. And Bill Bryant, just a ginormous, big running second row forward. He was just unbelievable. I remember in '68 in playoffs, we won championship that year at Wakefield, and I remember playing on wing that day, and they kept coming down my side. I thought, I wish he'd go somewhere else. He kept coming at 6'5", running like a 3/4. But yeah, Bill Bryant was outstanding second row forward, and really, well, we've all said really, competitive. We've mentioned that. A little story, if you like. When I was 16 and left school, I went to work at a place called South Yorkshire Motors in Pontefract, and I worked in stores. And Malcolm Reilly was a fitter on wagon side. And he used to play football. We used to take mickey out of him. Me and a lad called Dave Garbutt, who played at Keighley, and Vaughan Thomas, who played for Featherstone. who worked at South Yorkshire Motors, and he come one day, they're that excited because a football team hadn't turned up, so he played rugby. And the rest is history. Two games later, he signs for Cass. Yeah, so whoever was scout that day, whoever was scout that day must be the best scout ever. And Malcolm signed. So, as I say, competitor. We've all said that. I've gone for Roger. Obviously, if I'm picking my all-time Great Britain team, he'd probably be in there. But again, I don't go. He ain't got longevity at Cass, so he went to Kingston and what a marvellous career he had, but what a great player. And as Chuck said, he could play at wing, he could play anywhere, could Roger. And when you get about kids who can play like that, who are 5 foot, if you like, it's like Robbie Birrer, isn't it? And they're not about hard men, but, you know, the people used to target him on defence, but he'd tackle them with Roger. So it was as hard as any bloke I know who played the game, and I've gone... My other sub was Steve Knockanaughton, who... Probably can't get in for really. Just that's just a state of play. That he was a great player, a great footballer, a phenomenon really because of his fitness and what he did off field. He liked to pint and whatever, but he could always perform and outrun anybody on match day, and that's a credit to him. So yeah, that was my 15, and I'd like to see that team take the part and see how they went on.
Guys, it's been a huge insight. Thank you very much for coming across to Emily Stadium tonight and giving us that unique insight and the greatest ever cast team.
Boys, it's your job now to confer. We've heard about your teams and the characters you played with and you grew up watching as well. But we want you to, between these 3 teams, pick one to be the league's greatest ever cast team. We'll see Mick after the break, back with Keith Senior, as we compare Leeds and Cass' greatest ever teams.
League's Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Some days feel fuller than others, especially when you're suffering from constipation. Senocot contains natural senna which works in harmony with your body, giving you predictable, effective overnight relief, leaving you free to enjoy your day. Senocot promotes natural relief to get you moving again.
Go on.
Yeah?
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Maltesers, the lighter way to enjoy chocolate.
The perfect sandwich. White bread, brown, white, brown.
Bagel.
Bap.
A bap with bacon.
Salami.
Salami.
Thinly cut. Thickly. Thinly. Thickly.
Not cherry tomato.
Plum.
Plum? Man alive! What's wrong with big tomato?
And to top it off...
Hellman's.
Hellman's. Hellman's.
Hellman!
Hellman!
You create the sandwich, Hellman's makes it!
Athlete's foot can be itchy, sore and burning. Use Scholl Advanced Athlete's Foot Cream. It starts to kill the infection from the first application to provide soothing relief, leaving your feet feeling and looking better. Scholl Advanced Athlete's Foot Cream, clinically proven to treat athlete's foot infection. And for fast results for corns, the Scholl 2-in-1 Corn Express Pen exfoliates and softens the corn to aid removal. The 2-in-1 Corn Express Pen from Scholl.
For the perfect base for your chicken korma, try new Knorr Curry Flavour Pots. The new range of flavour pots from Knorr.
League's Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Welcome back to Rugby M's League's Greatest. Behind me, the Leeds boys are still debating their greatest ever team. We give them 2 more minutes. The Cass boys have been in theirs. Let's have a quick listen in to see how they're getting on.
Which given players which you think need to be in, absolutely need to be in?
Well, to be honest with you, Jamie, we've had quite a bit of a long debate about this, but one common realistic dominate we come in about this is that it's been picked over 3 different areas, which is fair play. There's been some great players, and unfortunately, you know, who have missed out on on the 15.
It's good to get some of experience, you know, some of the past players in there and also some of the today's players.
Right, you're going to be at sleep tonight with what's on there?
I've got 3 out of the 6 that's on there. It's very difficult. All great players in their own right.
I'll tell you what though, Jamie, I know obviously the Leeds fans are delighted the way that the club are going at the moment, the way the team's playing, but I'll tell you what, if that team was playing against Castleford this Saturday, they'd be delighted.
I'd be delighted as well, so would you, Scully?
I might, in that team, I might pick up my first Challenge Cup winners medal or my first winners medal in my career.
I must admit, and Mick, you know better because you were there, but we bought steady. And in fairness...
Well, if he were a 6 of the thing, and Jeffrey, I go for Edwards then. I'll plump for Derek Edwards.
Well, I said Derek were an half-back in it, but it was very early days. He turned very early.
But he toured 3 times.
He played all his... I did.
He toured 3 times.
So you're happy with Edwards and Leeds, isn't it? Perfect, we've done this.
All week you've been voting for your greatest teams for Leeds and Cass on our website, www.rugbym.co.uk. Jonesy, what a fantastic show.
Been unbelievable, mate. I've loved it. It's obviously got a lot easier to finish off since Scully left. But me, I'm born on Yorkshire Day, and I refuse to be born on any other day than Yorkshire Day. And I couldn't think of anything better than talking through the greatest players from 2 of the greatest Yorkshire clubs in Rugby League.
It's the first Challenge Cup final since 1986 at Wembley between 2 Yorkshire clubs. And guys, let's cross straight to you. Mick, I'll let you go first. Between the 3 legends, what have you come up with for the greatest ever Castleford team?
Well, we've gone with votes. Whoever's come up with the most votes. So if it's been 3 out of 3, obviously that's no-brainer. 2 out of 3, we've gone with that. So we've gone with Derek Edwards at fullback. There were a split vote with 1 of each, but we've gone with Derek Edwards because he toured in 1960, 66 and 70, and he went on World Cup 68. So we've gone with Edwards, which I think is well deserved. We've all gone for St John Ellis, the character on the wing, who's the record try scorer at Cass. And again, we've gone with John Joyner, 20 seasons at Cass, the most appearances ever for a Cass player, 606. A great player, and we've gone for him in centre. Richie Blackmore's got the nod in the centre, as been mentioned by Bob Beardmore and Chuck. He made a lot of St John Ellis' tries with his basketball passes. Big, fine fella, the Kiwi. So we've gone for him. Everybody went for Justin Carney. We love that. Beach ball, present day player, excites everybody. So that's been a popular choice. And again, the halfbacks didn't take much picking. We all went with, except Bob, who picked his send. We picked Chuck and Epi. And I think that was well received across the board. Great players back in the day. They'd be great in any era. To put them in any Cass team and enhance it. So, and it's nice to see, I finally got my way. We're nice to see Craig Hewby, a present-day player's made it. And another 11 season at Cass, and he's been great for all them 11 seasons. And I just hope he can turn out at Wembley this coming Saturday. We've got Kevin Beardmore, he got the 2 out of 3 vote. Kevin, for again, Clarkey, but I got outvoted. But Gripper, obviously, with a great ball getter back in the day, and he could also play a bit it loose. So he's got the nod there. Kevin Ward, uncompromising number 10. We could have played 8 or 10 Ward, it made the difference. So he comes in there, played for Great Britain, played in Australia with and won awards. So probably another no-brainer. Bill Bryant got the nod 2 out of 3. So Bill, 6'5", could run a bit for a second rower, so he got the nod there. Nick Howe, all 3 picked to add in Nick Howe. The Kiwi were an outstanding player, so he got that. And again, everybody's gone for Mal Reilly, competitor supreme, so he gets the 13 shirt. On the bench, again, we were a no-brainer, because Roger Millward, exciting player, and obviously had a biggest part of his career at Hull Kingston Rovers. They even named a stand after him, so that's unbelievable. And Steve Knockanaughton at 15, who had a stellar career at Cass and Hull, so what a great player, and for Great Britain as well. So that's our 15.
Fantastic. If you've got anywhere near that, you could be winning yourself a pair of Challenge Cup final tickets for this Saturday. We'll be talking to people from the website, checking all the entries. Good luck, all you Cass fans out there. Over to the Leeds team, Jonesy.
Get him in, yeah. Keith, what have we finally come up with? A lot of deliberation took probably 3 or 4 times as long as it did with the cast team.
Yeah, it did, and obviously we spoke about because we were different eras, and when we first put the team down, every tick was on Gary Schofield's team, and he was adamant that we were going to keep his team. So I fought for the cause of the modern day player. You know, we needed some modern day players in, because at the end of the day, that's my era, and that's what I grew up with. And you know, we've got a nice mix in there.
And you're our hardest player here today, so you've got your own way.
Correct. I've got rid of them. I've got them both in headlock, and they succumbed to me. That's why I got myself in the team. Yeah. So obviously we've gone with Holmes at fullback, legend at Leeds. You know, played over 600 games. Wingers, we've gone Smith and Atkinson. So absolutely 2 legends there themselves. Still with the old era. Lewis Jones, he's got a suite named after him here, and I get the centre spot as well. I think they felt sorry for me.
Pick yourself, son.
Correct.
Keep it real.
Like we say, Sidine's name was in there, but I've just rubbed it off and put my name there. Gary Schofield's put himself at 6, which we knew.
And the skipper as well.
Correct. He's named himself skipper. So we've had to revert Kevin Sinfield to number 7. We had to get him in there somewhere. You know, he's the most successful captain, you know, for the modern era, you know, for the Leeds team. So Kevin Sinfield ends up getting in at 7. For the props, Peacock and Harrison, 2 solid props there, and David Ward at hooker. Ramsey and Ellis, second row forwards, and the Pearl himself, Ellery Hanley. You know, we had to get the legend in himself. On the bench, we've gone for a little bit of speed with Burrow and the big prop, Adrian Morley, to finish off the bench.
It was tough, wasn't it, with 13, because Kevin Sinfield, Ellery Hanley, and the irony is that Ellery Hanley was Kevin Sinfield's hero. Both 13. We've got Alan Hardesty sat at the back there. He gets frustrated when you put players who, for example, play 13 in at somewhere like a 6 or a 7. But we had no choice really, other than to put Kevin there at 7.
That's where the difficulty was. You know, we stood strong, and we needed to get him in there. And Gary wasn't going to drop himself, so we give him the respect that he deserved, because obviously he was a legend in his own right. Yeah. So, you know, he's played 7. He could play in any half-back position. He can play at 9. He can play at loose forward. So we had to demote Rob Burrow to the bench and brought in Kevin Sinfield at 7.
It's quite ironic.
That'd be worth admission money alone. See, loose forwards against each other.
Yeah.
Really and Hanley. That'd be a good match-up, wouldn't it, Keith?
Oh, definitely.
It's kind of ironic that Daz Clark, who's probably going to be one of the key players this weekend, and Robert Burrow have missed out on the teams. Well, Robert's on the bench. It's going to be a great final. Good luck to all the Cast fans, all the Leeds fans. A big thank you for joining us tonight. Rugby M's League's Greatest. If your team comes close, get ready for the phone to ring, because you could be winning 2 pairs of Challenge Cup final tickets, courtesy of the RFL. If you need some tickets, get yourself down to the rfl.co.uk for all ticket information, and have a great day. And first and lastly, should I say, Jonesy, good luck, mate. Hope you can bring it back for Leeds and lay the ghost.
I'll do my best, pal. We'll all prepare well, I'm sure, and I'm sure Castleford will. And if we've learned anything about tonight's task, it's that you go down in history for a long, long time, and it's a great prize on offer.
Yep, the Challenge Cup is definitely one to watch this Saturday. Thank you very much, guys, for all your time. Thanks so much for joining us right here for Rugby M's League's Greatest. We'll see you again next time.
League's Greatest, brought to you in association with State of Mind.
Discover Ski Strawberry Mousse. Deliciously creamy, yet fluffy, with a swirl of intense strawberry sauce. Ski Mousse. Give it a swirl.
Athlete's foot can be itchy, sore and burning. Use Scholl Advance Athlete's Foot Cream. It starts to kill the infection from the first application to provide soothing relief, leaving your feet feeling and looking better. Scholl Advance Athlete's Foot Cream, clinically proven to treat athlete's foot infection. And for fast results for corns, the Scholl 2-in-1 Corn Express Pen exfoliates and softens the corn to aid removal. The 2-in-1 Corn Express Pen from Scholl.
None of these chicks want to go see a movie on Sunday. You know, it's always, I'm rearranging my sock drawer. I'm being deported. I'd love to, but I'm in rehab. Come on, ladies.
There's someone else you could take, Rad, who's always there for you, knows what you like and don't like, only a phone call away.
We really don't do this enough.
Sweet Sundays. Get a free cinema ticket on a Sunday. Who you take is up to you.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what Sunny rates are.
They're rates that can drop next time you borrow just by making 4 on-time payments. Do you have that?
Please hold.
Tell them no! It's Martin!
No, we don't have Sunny rates.
Sunny is a new way to borrow up to £1,000 at representative 1,971% APR variable. Discover sunny.co.uk. Good today, better tomorrow.
For a celebration of fragrance that lasts and lasts. And now, introducing Playful Scents.
Isn't Paris fabulous? I've always wanted to come here. Apparently it's